They said a sheriff's badge was made of iron, but mine was melting in her hands. Selena Reyes, daughter of a killer, wrapped in red silk lips that promised sin eyes that threatened ruin. Tomorrow I would hang her father. Tonight I was falling into her arms. And before dawn, I would learn that love could be the most dangerous crime of all. The town of Deadwood Hollow never slept easy. Its streets were dust by day and whispers by night. Lawmen had come and gone like tumbleweeds blown away by bullets or bribes. But tonight law wore my face, Sheriff James Carter. And tomorrow I was to hang a man named Reyes, the most feared outlaw this side of the Rio Grande. Yet here I was, standing in the lamplight of the Silver Spur Saloon, watching his daughter walk down the staircase like sin carved into silk. Selena Reyes. Her dress was red brighter than spilled wine, clinging like it had been poured over her skin. Every step down the stairs set lantern light dancing across her shoulders. Every man in the room turned his head, even those with cards in their hands, or women already on their laps. She ignored them all. Her eyes were on me. "You wear a badge," she said when she reached the floor, voice smooth as smoke. "But do you wear it for the town or for yourself?" I swallowed the whiskey, burning my throat. "What's it matter?" "It matters," she said, circling me, slow the red of her dress brushing close. "Because tomorrow you put a rope around my father's neck, and tonight you can't stop looking at me." The saloon went quiet. Even the piano froze. I hated her for being right. "Careful," I muttered. "A sheriff caught staring at a Reyes ends up 6 feet under." "Or in my arms," she whispered. The barkeep coughed, breaking the moment. "Sheriff, you sure you want to be drinking here?" His eyes cut nervously toward the tables of rough men in the corner. Reyes's old gang still loyal, still dangerous. I didn't answer. Selena did. "They won't touch him," she said, almost daring them to try. "Not while I'm here." One of the gang spat on the floor. "She's poisoned, Sheriff. Same as her daddy. Don't let her drag you down." Selena's gaze snapped to him, fire sparking. "Better poisoned by me than rotted by fear." The man shrank back. Somehow her voice carried more weight than my badge. She turned back to me, eyes glittering. "Walk me outside." It wasn't a request. We stepped into the street. The night air was dry, carrying the faint smell of gun oil and horses. The town square loomed ahead, gallows, already built rough timber against a pale moon. The rope swung gently in the breeze, waiting for morning. Selena stopped staring at it. For the first time, her face faltered. Her lips trembled, not with seduction, but with fury, barely caged. "That's for him," she said softly. "My father, that's the law," I answered. Her laugh was low, bitter. "Law or revenge?" Dressed up in Sunday clothes, Reyes killed 12 men who tried to kill him first, she snapped. "But you won't tell it that way. You'll stand there tomorrow, badge shining, voice steady, and call it justice." She faced me close enough for her perfume to burn itself into my lungs. "But tell me, Sheriff, when you hang a man, does your soul swing with him?" I should have walked away. Should have left her standing in the dust with her anger and her beauty. But I didn't. I stepped closer. "My soul's heavy already," I said. "Another rope won't change that." Her hand touched my chest just above the badge. Soft, dangerous. "Then maybe," she whispered, "you should take it off." Her eyes locked mine, pulling me in like a whirlpool. For a heartbeat, the gallows, the law, the town, none of it existed. Only her. The spell broke with a shout from the far end of the street. Sheriff Carter, Deputy Wallace came running, hat askew, breath ragged. "Sheriff, trouble at the jail." I spun. "What kind of trouble?" "An attempt," he gasped. They tried to bust Reyes out. We held them, but someone got inside. He's wounded. Selena's face blanched. She grabbed my arm. Is he alive? Wallace hesitated. For now, she didn't wait. She ran, red silk flashing like fire under the moon. I followed, boots pounding. The jailhouse stank of blood and sweat. Bars bent, windows shattered. A man groaned on the floor, Reyes himself, pale, bleeding from a gash across his ribs. Chains still clung to his wrists. Selena dropped to her knees beside him. Papa. Her hands fluttered, helpless. Reyes's eyes found mine, hard even through pain. Sheriff, he rasped. You gonna hang a dead man? Wallace looked stricken. He won't last till morning. Selena rounded on me, fury blazing. If he dies tonight, you're not a lawman, you're just another executioner. I opened my mouth, but the sound of boots outside cut me off. A crowd gathering. Voices rising. The sheriff's got Reyes. Finish him now. String him up before sunrise. Selena clutched her father's hand, eyes wild. Then she turned to me. James, she whispered, voice breaking through every wall I'd built. Save him. If not for him, then for me. The door shuddered under fists. The rope outside swung in the wind, and I knew the night was about to drown in fire. I raised my voice. Hold. All of you, Reyes, will face justice at dawn. Not before. Go home. Wallace, I said, bar the back door. Hold the line here. Selena knelt at her father's side, clutching his blood-stained shirt. Her dark eyes burned at me. James, they'll kill him. Not tomorrow with rope and trial, but tonight like animals. You can't let them. Selena stood, her face flushed, her father's blood still on her hands. They won't listen to you. Not tonight. You're the law, but law means nothing against fear. She stepped closer, too close. Her voice low and dangerous. You want to save your badge, or my father? I pressed a hand against the frame, feeling it tremble under fists and boots. These weren't outlaws outside. They were townsfolk men who tipped their hats in daylight and prayed in the chapel on Sundays. But now under the moon they had turned savage. The shouts only grew louder. Bottles smashed against the walls. Someone hurled a torch at the barred window. Flames licked the sill before Wallace stamped it out. I searched. Her eyes saw both fury and desperation, and realized I couldn't separate the two. The mob pressed against the jail shadows, swarming the windows, fists hammering the door. I'll get them off this jail, maybe I said. But if I do nothing, they'll kill him. I shoved open the front door. The mob surged forward, but I fired a warning shot into the sky. The crack split the night, silencing them for one brief moment. Step back, I roared. Anyone crossing this line is a dead man. They hesitated, but the thirst in their eyes didn't fade. A man in the front, drunk and furious, shouted, You protecting him, Sheriff? You in her pocket now, too? He pointed at Selena, who had followed me out despite my order. Her red dress glowed in the torchlight like a challenge. The crowd jeered, voices breaking into curses about witches and devils, temptress and curse. Selena didn't flinch. She raised her chin. You call me curse because you fear the truth. What truth? A farmer spat. That this town was built on blood, not law, she shouted. And my father's no worse than the men who profit from his fall. Gasps and growls rippled through the mob. Her words cut deeper than bullets, and I saw the faces of men who knew she was right, though they'd never admit it. Another voice rose sharp and venomous. Don't listen to her. She's Ray's whore daughter. Nothing more. I saw the hand before the torch left it. I shoved Selena aside as fire smashed against the doorframe, sparks raining. The jail caught wood, groaning as flames licked upward. The mob roared, surging forward. Guns came up, fists raised. I fired again, this time at the ground in front of their boots. Back off, or I swear, I'll drop the next man where he stands. Silence heavy and taut. Then from the back of the mob, a figure pushed forward. A tall man with a clean black coat, polished boots, and a smile too smooth for the dirt under his feet. His hat shadowed sharp eyes, and in his hand gleamed a silver-tipped cane. "Sheriff Carter," he said, voice slick as oil. Always the noble fool. I knew him. Everyone did. Marcus Holloway, banker and puppeteer of Deadwood Hollow. The kind of man who never dirtied his hands but kept them soaked in other men's blood. "Marcus," I said, leveling my Colt, "you stirring this crowd." He spread his arms wide. "I never. These are honest men of the town, tired of seeing killers coddled by the law." His eyes slid to Selena, lingering, "and tired of being bewitched by pretty liars." Selena's glare could have burned hotter than the flames. "You're the liar, Marcus. You and men like you put guns in my father's hands, then turned on him when he took the blame." The crowd shifted uneasy. Marcus's smile didn't waver. "A lovely story. But stories don't stop ropes. Tonight the town takes justice back into its hands." He raised his cane, and the mob surged again. I shot the cane clean out of his grip. The crack stunned them all. "Next bullet's not for wood," I warned. The mob froze, caught between fear of me and fear of Marcus's wrath. Selena stepped forward, voice fierce. "You want blood? Take mine," the crowd gasped. Even I stared at her, stunned. She spread her arms, red silk, glowing a living flame before the torches. "Hang me with him if you call it justice. But don't pretend this is law. Don't pretend this is anything but cowardice." The silence that followed was jagged, like the edge of a broken bottle. And then Marcus laughed. Low, cold. "You see, Sheriff, she'll damn herself to save him. That's not love. That's manipulation." He bent to pick up his cane, eyes gleaming. "You'll see it like every other man who ever looked too long into her eyes." The crowd began to murmur again, swaying between anger and doubt. The jail smoked behind us, fire creeping higher. Inside, Reyes groaned in pain. Selena grabbed my hand, suddenly squeezing tight. "James, choose. Stand with me now, or lose everything." The roar of the mob rose, fists hammering the walls, torches blazing, Marcus's voice driving them forward. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if law could survive the night. The flames licked higher up the jailhouse wall. The mob pressed closer, their rage fed by Marcus's voice. He stood tall before them, polished and unmarked, the only man without sweat or ash on his skin. His words were poison wrapped in silk. "Look at your sheriff," Marcus called. "A lawman who shields murderers. A lawman who lets beauty cloud his duty. He is not your protector. He is your betrayer." The crowd growled, and for the first time I felt the weight of 100 eyes turn against me. I raised my voice over the roar. "I'm your sheriff. I've bled for this town. I've buried friends in its dirt. You may not like me, but you'll damn well respect the law I stand for." Selena's hand slipped into mine, her grip fierce. "They won't hear you," she murmured. "But maybe they'll hear me." She stepped forward, red dress blazing against the night, and lifted her chin. "You blame me because you fear me. You call me poison because you drank my father's lies and were too weak to spit them out. My father is guilty, yes. But he is not the only guilty man in Deadwood Hollow." Gasps rippled through the mob. Men shifted uncomfortably. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Careful, darling," he said, his voice low but sharp. Some truths burn worse than fire. Selena didn't falter. You gave him gold. You gave him guns. You lined your pockets while my father swung the iron. And now you want him dead to bury your own sins. She pointed at Marcus, her finger trembling but steady enough to strike like a whip. If there's a curse in this town, it's you. The crowd erupted, torn between outrage and doubt. Some shouted for Reyes' blood. Others muttered Marcus's name under their breaths, suspicion crawling at the edges of fear. Marcus smiled thin as a knife. A touching story. But who will you believe? A sheriff tangled in a widow's daughter's dress? Or the man who keeps your banks, your homes, your very bread alive? He snapped his fingers. From the edge of the mob, 4 armed men stepped forward. Marcus's hired guns, faces hard rifles gleaming. They weren't townsfolk. They were wolves brought in from outside, and the crowd fell silent at the sight of them. Selena's eyes widened. He planned this. Yes, Marcus said. Tonight the law dies, and I inherit the town. When Reyes' ash and the sheriff's body swings beside him, no one will dare raise their voice again. He nodded to the gunmen. Take them both. The rifles leveled. Selena clutched my arm, her breath sharp in my ear. James. I fired first. My Colt barked, one rifleman dropping into the dirt. Chaos exploded. The mob screamed, scattering as bullets lit the night. I dragged Selena behind the trough wood, splintering around us as shots tore through the air. Stay down, I shouted, returning fire. Another rifleman staggered, his weapon clattering away. The mob fled in panic, leaving only Marcus and his 2 remaining wolves. Selena pressed, close, eyes wide but steady. We can't hold here. He'll kill us both. Reyes groaned inside the jail. His bloodied voice carried faintly. Sheriff, end this. I clenched my teeth. Duty and desire pulled me in opposite directions, both fierce, both deadly. Selena grabbed my face, suddenly forcing my eyes to hers. Don't think of law now. Think of survival. Think of me. Her lips crashed against mine, sudden, burning, desperate. The world spun. Fire roared. Bullets sang. And for one raw moment, I forgot everything but her. Then she pulled back, breathless, her eyes blazing. Now fight. I rose, gun blazing. One more wolf fell. Marcus cursed, retreating behind a wagon. He fired wild, his smooth mask cracking into rage. You'll regret this, Sheriff, he screamed. You'll regret choosing her. Selena rose beside me, grabbing a fallen rifle. She leveled it with trembling hands but steady aim. No, Marcus, she said, her voice cold steel. It's you who'll regret underestimating me. Her shot rang true. Marcus's hat spun off, blood streaking his temple. He staggered, snarling like a wounded beast, and stumbled into the shadows. His last wolf dragged him away, their retreat, vanishing into the chaos. The gunfire ceased. The mob was gone. Only smoke and fire remained. Selena dropped the rifle, her chest heaving, her red dress torn and ash-streaked. She looked at me, eyes shimmering, with something I couldn't name: fear, fury, or desire. You saved him, she whispered, glancing toward the jail where her father still bled. But at what cost? I stepped closer, voice rough. The cost comes tomorrow. When the rope waits again, her eyes filled with tears she refused to shed. Then let tonight be ours, before law, before death, before the curse takes us both. The flames roared higher, but her words burned hotter. And as I pulled her into my arms, I knew that whether we lived or died, I had already crossed a line I could never return from. By dawn, the flames had died, leaving the jailhouse blackened but still standing. The mob had scattered into silence, ashamed of their fear, afraid of their choices. Only smoke and the echo of gunfire remained. Inside, Reyes lay weak but breathing. The wound had slowed him but not killed him. Selena sat at his side, wiping blood from his brow with hands that trembled less than they should have. Her red dress was torn, her hair matted with soot. Yet she looked unbroken, like a flame that refused to be smothered. I stood at the doorway watching. My badge felt heavier than iron, heavier than the colt on my hip. He was still my prisoner, still sentenced to hang at sunrise. But last night had changed everything. Selena looked up at me. You kept him alive. For that I'll never forget. I met her gaze. But he still faces the rope. Her eyes hardened. And you? Do you face nothing? You protect a town that tried to kill its own lawman. You serve men like Marcus who twist justice into profit. Tell me, James, when you stand on that scaffold, are you their sheriff or mine? I didn't answer. Couldn't. The sun climbed higher. Townsfolk gathered in the square, their eyes shifting nervously, waiting to see if law still ruled or if Marcus's shadow lingered. Reyes was dragged out, chains rattling, pale but proud. Selena followed, her chin high, daring anyone to call her curse. The gallows loomed. The rope swayed gently in the morning breeze. Deputy Wallace read the sentence with a shaking voice. By order of the Court of Deadwood Hollow, Jonathan Reyes is to hang for murder and robbery. His words faded under the murmur of the crowd. Selena's eyes locked on mine. James, she whispered, don't do this. If you hang him, you hang yourself too. The noose slipped around Reyes's neck. He didn't resist. His eyes were steady, almost mocking. Do it, Sheriff, he rasped. Show your town the law they deserve. My hand hovered near the lever. The world held its breath, and then a voice cut through the silence. Stop this! Marcus stumbled into the square. His head bandaged, his coat blood-stained, but his smile intact. Behind him stood his surviving gunman, armed and ready. This is no justice, Marcus thundered. This is theater. Reyes isn't guilty alone. He had partners, men, in this very crowd. But you'll never know their names, because the sheriff burned with lust for a sinner's daughter instead of duty. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread like fire through dry grass. Selena cried out, lies! But Marcus raised a folded parchment stained with blood, but intact. My stomach twisted, I recognized it. Reyes's confession, stolen during the chaos. Here is the proof, Marcus shouted. He named his allies, but the sheriff let it vanish into smoke. Deadwood Hollow deserves better than a man undone by a woman's touch. He threw the paper into the dirt. The crowd surged forward, shouting. I drew my Colt. Enough. This ends now, Marcus sneered. Then choose sheriff. Hang Reyes and prove yourself the town's law. Or spare him and damn yourself a traitor. The crowd pressed closer, torn between law and blood, fear and fury. Selena's hand clutched mine, her eyes shining with tears and fire. James, she whispered, choose me. Choose us. Don't let law kill love. Time froze. The rope swayed. Marcus's eyes gleamed. The crowd roared. Selena's breath trembled against my skin. I pulled the lever, but the rope stayed slack. I had cut it quiet before dawn. The noose fell useless around Reyes's shoulders. Gasps echoed. Chaos erupted. I raised my badge high. Law is not rope. Law is not Marcus's lies. Law is choice. And today, I choose mercy. Gunfire cracked. Marcus fired first, wild with rage. My Colt answered, and this time he fell, blood darkening the dust. His gunmen fled the crowd, scattering in shock. Silence fell, broken only by the creak of the empty gallows. Selena's hand found mine, warm, trembling. Her eyes glistened. You chose me. I looked at her then, at the horizon burning gold with morning. I chose more than that. I chose to be free. The town was broken. My badge meant nothing now. But as I led Selena and her father out of Deadwood Hollow, I felt lighter than I had in years. The desert stretched wide before us, unforgiving, uncertain. And yet, with her by my side, even the wildest frontier felt like hope, because sometimes the deadliest crime of all is falling in love. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this story. If this journey through the Wild West kept your heart racing or touched you in some way, do me a favor. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you don't want to miss the next untold tale of love, betrayal, and survival, make sure you subscribe to Western Romance Stories. Until then, stay strong, stay hopeful, and I'll meet you in the next story of the frontier.